saying, honey, I got my vision board over here so you guys can see. I know I showed it before, but this really has relevance to this here video today. So right now I'm about to eat. I have some shaved steak and then some chips and a little bit of cheese and stuff. I want to share this with you guys. So back in now, I also had some Melenders. Now I told you guys about this house was yesterday and the day before. Now this one, let me tell you something. What happened? Okay, remember yesterday I have a Dollar Tree haul up. Okay, that I did yesterday, and I had tried the ghost pepper wing sauce. Right, absolutely good. Now you do feel that kick, the spiciness, but it wasn't as spicy. So yesterday I had a bright idea. I had got these chips from Sam's Club. Okay, it's like 50 bags or so in here, these Doritos. And my youngest children came home from school. My youngest son, he had got some Doritos, and I said, "Oh wow, you know what? What I could do is put some hot sauce, on these Doritos, right?" And so I go in, and the bags, they, like the quarters back in the day, they would be a quarter. I don't know how much the bags of chips are now, but it's the same as that concept, the quarter bag of chips. And so I took one of those Dorito bags and I, just was pouring, the ghost pepper wing sauce on the chips. When I tell you that those things were hot, those things were so hot. So yesterday, remember I had showed you guys, I take a little pinch and I put it on the rice and the crab meat and stuff that I had yesterday. It was easy peasy lemon squeezy. It wasn't that spicy. It was good. So if you are a person that is looking to get some of the ghost pepper wing sauce, this is really, really good. Caution though. If you don't eat spicy food like that, or if you have a low tolerance to hot food, then either one or two things. You may want to stay clear of this, or if you do use it, you want to use it in moderation, meaning just a little drop at a time, because this thing can get very, very hot. Okay. Funny thing, and yesterday I thought about this. This came up after I did the video, because I'm going to share with you guys how I start having a tolerance for hot food, for spiciness. Okay. And I tell you guys all the time, my spice level is as big as, Frank's hot. that's how, that's like my spice level. And, it's Frank's hot, not even really hot any longer. But when I was a kid, I used to suck my thumb, right? Now we do things that we have seen our parents do. A lot of the habits that we tend to have is because we have seen our parents do those habits. So when I was a kid, my mother, she used to suck her thumb. Right. And I started sucking my thumb. I seen my mother doing it. Then later on, my sister, my older sister, Melissa, she would suck her thumb and stuff like that. So one of the things my father would do, and I love my father to the life of me, right? And when I was a kid, I felt like nothing my father could have done was wrong, right? Like I felt like, because he was the person that played a part, like from the age of, I don't want to say like when I was a newborn or whatever. I don't know, but I know when I was 5 years old and younger, my father always had custody of me until I was about 5, right? So when I was a kid, being that I sucked my thumb, my father used to have this stuff. It was like, it smelled really, really strong. And he would put that on my thumb, right? So I could stop sucking my thumb. But then later on, he started using hot sauce because that other stuff, or was it the hot sauce first? I forget which one and which order it was. But the hot sauce, it was no longer effective, okay? Because I would just lick the hot sauce off. Because to me, the hot sauce, the Frank's Hot, it tasted good. So then my father, he got creative and he started putting some other stuff on my thumb, where so, I stopped sucking my thumb because of the stuff that he was putting on my thumb. And I wanted to share that because, we tend to have habits based upon our upbringing, right? And sometimes we continuously do things and we don't understand, like, why I do what I do, right? You never sat down and questioned or just, analyze some of the things that you tend to do. And so that's how I developed the love for hot sauce. Okay. Now, I'm gonna share this story with you guys. Now, right here, I got some Melinda's sweet and spicy Japanese barbecue sauce. Now, this is not that hot. Okay, it's very, very mild. So everything is about environment. Okay, what you are surrounding yourself around. Now, when I was in St. Joseph's, it was this transitional housing program. So me and my children can get Section 8. Now, one of the things I'm going to say to you is it doesn't matter where you currently are right now, right? You may look at your life and think that where you are today, that's where you have to be for the rest of your life. But I am here to tell you that is not true. Just because you are there today, you do not have to be there for the rest of your life. Only by choice. So when I was staying in transitional housing, so I could get Section 8, I remember I started because I always wanted more for my children. I always had this thing where, as though, although I'm on Section 8, although I'm on welfare, I always wanted more. I always desired to give my children way more than what I have grown up with. And so I remember I wanted to work, right? I just wanted to buy my children more. My at the time, my two oldest children. And I remember I would wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I would wake up 4 o'clock in the morning because it was a store, a hardware store, Home Depot, that one of my friends had knew the lady who worked in the plant department. 1 second, let me get a napkin. So my friend, he knew my African friend. He's from Ghana. So he knew one of the ladies that pretty much did the hiring for this plant company that was the vendor inside of Home Depot. So I remember I would bug him like, oh, I want a job, see if you could talk to the lady, whatever it is like that, so I could start working. Now, this job, it was about probably an hour away. Okay. Like I said, I would wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I did this because I just wanted my children to have more. And this was the only job that at the time, like, I had a hookup. My friend, he knew the lady, and so he put a good word in, so I started working there. And I remember waking up 4 o'clock in the morning And I would get dressed, get ready and stuff, shower and everything like that. At the time, my two oldest children, my oldest son, probably at that time, I want to say he was about 5. And then my oldest daughter, she had to be probably about 2 at this time. And so I just went through a breakup. I just went through a breakup with oldest daughter's my oldest daughter father, right, a few months prior. And so this was the thing that was like gonna take my mind off of it. I could provide for my children, I could give them more. And I remember I had to take, let me see, it was one bus that I had to catch that was by the place, the transitional housing place. Then when I got to the bus station, I had to take another bus, and then I had to take another bus in order for me to get to the place. The place was in Hackensack, New Jersey, to my Jersey folks. Okay, it was the Home Depot in Hackensack. And so I remember once I started working there, it was two ladies that were really, really close. And they were white women. And I remember one of them, oh my goodness, she was amazing. Both of them was amazing, but there's one I remember, she would always talk about her garden and stuff like that. And, she taught me a lot, especially when it came to the perennials and the annuals and stuff like that. And I remember she told me about this place. Actually, it was two of them. They told me about this place, and I never heard of this place before, a day in my life. Well, it's called Alpine, New Jersey. And I remember she was saying like she lived I think probably like 20 minutes away from there. So, and she was describing the houses and stuff like that. And she was like, oh, it's so gorgeous. They have like beautiful mansions and stuff like that. I never heard of that place a day in my life. So fast forward. Now, this is the time where as though I started driving, right? And I remember dad always stayed stuck in my mind about what she said about Alpine, New Jersey, that they have beautiful mansions, the town is absolutely gorgeous. And so I remember I would go to Alpine just to take a drive to be around the beautiful, gorgeous homes. And some of the homes you can't like go past because, of course, like it's gated and stuff like that. But you want to surround yourself around luxury things. Now, some may say, well, what the heck I want to do that for? Or some may even be a little afraid or feel intimidated by going to places like that. Well, when you start being around things like that, it stimulates your imagination. Okay, you start imagining yourself. You start being creative, start thinking about, oh, what could I do in order for me to live here one day, right? And I remember being around stuff like that. And even it's this place in New Jersey. I think it's called Blackwell, New Jersey, or something like that. I know it's Black something. And there they have beautiful mansions. It's like pushed all the way back, right? But you can see the mansions. They are absolutely gorgeous. You want to continuously surround yourself around things like that. And let me tell you something, okay? It does not matter where you are today. So many people get so caught up on their current situation that they talk themselves out of their desired situation. Like so many people, they so focused on them being in debt, them being on public assistance, that they so focused on that they don't use their imagination for something that is going to be constructive. They use it to be destructive. Prime example. You have some people all day, they talk about how their life is screwed up, right? And there's some people that are rather successful that had that same exact life and decided that they were not going to say that. But you had this one person, the only thing that they could think about is how their life is screwed up and how they don't have enough money, how they doing the same thing each and every day. And that's all they focus on. So if that's what you focus on, you are going to get more of that because that's all you continuously give your attention to, right? And so one of the things that I do, and I tell you guys this all the time, when I get paid from YouTube, the first thing I do, I make sure I always invest. Okay, I always invest in myself. Because although I may be somewhere today, my tomorrow, it can look drastically different. It can look so different from today. And so you want to continuously invest in yourself, whether that's investing into books, whether that's investing into courses. Like this Sunday, I got a course with Jazz. I don't know Jazz's last name, but she's a YouTuber as well. She has 164,000 subs. And I think she said the first quarter, I don't know if it was 384,000 she made or 100 and something thousand. I can't remember off bat. But you want to be around people like that. You want to position yourself to be around people like that. You know, I make sure that I am doing things and staying consistent so my children could reap the benefit. So they can understand that if you stay persistent, if you have faith, right? You stay consistent, you keep on showing up with hard work, right? And when I say hard work, I don't mean, what I mean by hard work is it's going to be times where as though you may not want to get up. It's not that the thing itself is hard, but what it is that you being disciplined, right? To do that thing that you may not necessarily want to do. Because, not for nothing. I seen this girl the other day and she was on another platform. And one of the things she said was, she said she earned $9,000 a month, right? From this platform. And she said it was hard. And what made it hard was she said she would have some of her friends call her on Friday nights. She's young in her 20s. And they would say, hey, let's go out tonight. And she said all the many nights on the weekend, she had to say no because she had to study or she had to upload videos. But all those nights that she didn't see results, but she kept showing up and she stayed disciplined. And now she says she earned 9,000 and something a month. So it's gonna be plenty of times you're not gonna want to do it. But you made a promise to yourself that you're gonna do it. You made a promise to yourself that you're gonna show up. And so guess what? You continuously still show up. Even when things appear to be a certain way. Some people, they have this ignorant mentality. This mindset that because you wrote it down and you've been studying, hey James, you've been studying, that they think that it's supposed to happen overnight. That's not how this here thing works. Because let me tell you something. If that was the case, how could you distinguish you know how we had this saying like only the strongest survive? How could you distinguish the strong from the weak, right? And it's not that perhaps these people are weak, but it's that they mindset is weak. Some people feel like you read a few books and your life is supposed to just magically change. Let me tell you, you're gonna go through obstacles along your journey. And I want to say, when you take the leap out on faith and decide to really show up and do the thing that you was created to do, the obstacles are really going to come. The reason being is because now you shifting from this person that society has created to what God has created you to be. And as you are shifting, you're going to have old thoughts. The old programming is going to come up and is going to try to fight you. And you have to make a decision, Will I continuously show up, have faith, and sometimes, not for nothing, you may even question your faith because it seems like all these different things are coming or at you or coming towards you all at once. I remember there's a guy on here. He's fairly young. I think Nero Knowledge is probably about 20, 26 or something. Absolutely love him. And he talks about law of attraction, manifestation, and he just put a book out. It's called How to Change Reality or Beat Reality or something like that. And he became the Amazon bestseller, I think within 24 hours. Okay. I absolutely love Nero Knowledge. But one of the things Nero Knowledge said was when everything, and this is the reason I tell you guys to study. Like, you got to keep on studying. Because in the words of my mentor, Bob Proctor, one of the things Bob Proctor says is, faith is based upon understanding, right? Understanding and knowledge. If you are doubtful, operating in fear, you are operating from ignorance. You think things are not going to work out in your favor, but there's been so many other times where you didn't know how things was going to work out in your favor, and they worked out in your favor. Okay. And one of the things Nero Knowledge says, he says, when you go, this is one of the ways that you will know that you're very close to your desired reality is all sorts of things are going to come and appear that they're going wrong in your life. And you have to understand that is because it wants you, right? Their old version of you, the old belief system, it wants you to stay exactly where you were. It doesn't want you to move. It doesn't want you to become, that person, that you was actually created to be, because it's doing it for its survival. And so you start looking at your life and you start understanding that, things not for nothing, you know, things happen to all of us. Okay. Life happens to all of us. You know, it's not just, I know some people think that, oh, life is just out for them. They believe that life got something against them or whatever it is like that. But life happens to all of us. No one is exempt from challenges. No one is exempt from pain, from experiencing pain. We all go through it. And you have some people that's so ignorant. I mean, very ignorant. This is so good. They so ignorant. They say things like, well, since you've been studying, you read all them books and you still going through stuff. They don't understand. They don't understand how this here thing works. They don't understand. If somebody would have said that to me a few years ago, I probably would have been like, that they right. Like, why am I going through these things? Why am I going through challenges? Why am I going through, obstacles and stuff like that? Why am I being challenged? And I'm doing the work. I'm doing my purpose, right? I'm being inspirational. I'm doing these things. But just because you're doing those things, that don't mean that you're not gonna be tested. But you got everything inside you, James. We know this though. Sometimes somebody will say certain things that will cause us to remember that everything is within us. Everything is within you. And if you really take the leap out on faith, your life is going to start getting better. And let me tell you something, because another thing that people think is, I'm such a good person. Why things are happening to me like that? You being a good person, it is not going to exempt you from the laws of this here universe. What I mean by that is this. Maybe you help Miss Betty out, right? Maybe you give to a charity. Maybe you take your mother food shopping, right? Maybe you do those things. And a part of you may feel like, since I do those things, why do bad things keep happening to you? Well, if you do those things and you have a mindset where, as though subconsciously you deeply believe that you deserve only a bare minimum, That's exactly what you're gonna have, a bare minimum. If you believe that you don't deserve, like, prime example, it could be a young lady who, she's always helpful, right? She helps the community, she helps people, she's always helpful. And from the outside, people like, oh my goodness, she's so loving, she's helpful, she do so much for the community. But behind closed doors, she could be getting oops upside her head. Now, what I mean by oops upside her, she could be getting beat on. Okay? By this person that she feel she can't live without. And some people may say, let's just say the person name is Janet. Now people in the community, they found out that Janet get beat on by her husband. And people like, why would this happen to her? She's such a loving person. She's so kind. She's so sweet. Every time we see her, she have a smile on her face, but subconsciously, Janet believes she deserves that relationship. You know why she believes she deserved that? Because what she grew up seeing, what she witnessed, that love is painful. That if somebody loves you, they show you by being physical. So you don't understand it, right? You don't understand like how Janet could be with somebody like this if Janet is so loving and kind. But Janet has this belief system within herself that she don't deserve love. And so some of you guys, you like, well, why bad things happen to good people is because they have this self-image. One of the things in a book, Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, one of the things he talks about is you cannot outrun your self-image. You can't outrun it because many times you're not even aware. You're not even aware of why you do what you do. And there's people out here, they blame circumstances, not realizing in most cases what they are experiencing, it is due to their belief system, their self-image, how they see themselves. It's due to that. So, getting back on topic, you're going to have to be around things you desire to be around it. You're going to have to, you desire to have it, you got to be around it. A part of you may be like, but I don't even know where I'm going to get the money from. That's not your problem. That you're not supposed to worry about where the money is going to come from. The money is here. Okay, you do understand they print money every day, but the money is here. It's gonna come from where it comes from. A great book is Prosperity Bible. Okay. Now, Prosperity Bible, it has many books inside of one book. One of the books that I highly recommend is what's the name of it? By Wallace Wallers. And I gotta go get it 1 second. This book right here. Now, it's a thick book, but when I tell you this is one of the books that you may want to consider buying because it's so good, is The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wallers. I done read this a few times, okay? And I do understand that I could read it a lot more times. And it talks about gratitude, you know? The illustrations given in the last chapter will have conveyed to the reader the fact that the first step towards getting rich is to convey the idea of your wants to the formless substance, you know? So many people, they say, well, I want more money. They don't even have written down how much more money. You know, you walk down the street, you see 25 cents, you see $1 on the street, that's more money. You have to be very, very detailed. Now, this is true, and you will see that in order to do so, hey, Anthony Lee, this is true, and you will see that in order to do so, it becomes necessary to relate yourself to the formless intelligence in a harmonious way. To secure this harmonious relation is a matter of such primary and vital importance that I shall give some space to its discussion here and give you instructions which, if you will follow them, will be certain to bring you into perfect unity of mind with God. Okay, I remember thinking God was outside me. The reason why so many people don't do that thing that they really want to do is because they think that God is up in the sky, as opposed to understanding that God dwells in you. God is in you. Okay, you and God are one. You need to understand that. So moving forward, now the whole process of mental adjustment and atonement can be summed up in one word: gratitude. First, you believe that there is one intelligent substance from which all things proceed. Second, you believe that this substance gives you everything you desire. And third, you relate yourself to it by a feeling of deep and profound gratitude. Many people who order their lives rightly in all other ways are kept in poverty by their lack of gratitude. Complaining. You complaining. Complaining all day. Lack of gratitude. You focusing on what you don't have. You're doing a comparison game. You're on the internet too long. Watching all these people and you say, dang, these people are all successful. And then you look at your life and you say, dang, but look at my life. I remember hearing Gary Vee say this. He said, don't you know there's more people who have less than you? Than it is those who have more than you? I told you guys every morning I write down my gratitude list. If I don't do it in the morning, I make sure it's done before I go to bed. You want to write down a gratitude list. Because the more you are in gratitude, you are at a higher vibration, you are on a higher frequency. Now you could attract more. Say this person even myself, I even got caught up. I remember one time when I got paid from YouTube, right? I remember the first check, it wasn't even a check because you have to earn $100 a month and more in order for you to be paid. And I remember I went on my my Google ads to see my what is it, the back end on YouTube to see how much I earned. And I remember it was like $5. It said $5. And at that time, I think I had I don't know if it was 5,000 videos that I did already. And I was like, $5. I was like, oh, heck no. But I missed the point. The point is, it may be $5, but you have a chance to earn more next month. And I did. You have a chance to earn more next month. And this is another thing, okay? If you're a person that's beating yourself up for where you currently are right now, you're going to have to stop. Because wanting to rush the process is not going to be beneficial to you. That's like, say you in the 8th grade and you like, dang, I'm supposed to be in the 10th, right? And say that they just skipped the 9th and they just put you on the 10th. Now you in the 10th, you don't know some of the stuff that they teaching in the 10th because you done missed the 9th grade. So that's how it is in life. You have to go through certain things in order for you to get to the next level. But if you're a person that's just like, well, I just want to be there already, you are shortchanging yourself because God is never going to give you something that you have demonstrated that you're not prepared for. Like you're and you know, and some, for instance, getting back to what I said about the self image, right? By um Maxwell Modes, psycho-cybernetics. You see so many people, you see some people that hit the lottery, right? And then within a few months, they broke. Why? Because they self image. They didn't believe they deserved that money, although they hit the lottery, but they didn't believe subconsciously they deserved that money. And so what they do, they don't believe they deserve abundance. So what they do is they make sure they spend it all because they don't believe they deserve that much. But when you start studying and understanding that it's all a belief system. Another thing that this book talks about is eggs largely. So sometimes we get caught up in our own mind and we like, well, I don't want to ask God for too much or whatever you deem source is. You may be like, I don't want to ask source for too much because, if I ask for too much, then I may not get it or source may not be able to give it to me. Here it is, source, you know, is in control of everything. And you actually believe that God won't be able to give it to you. Like you actually believe it. And people do themselves a disservice because they ask for so little. So little. Like this book, it says, it will be brought to you by the power of the supreme intelligence acting upon the minds of men. Now, let me go back. If you want a sewing machine, this part right here, I absolutely love it because it lets you know no matter what it is that you want. And you may feel like, but how I'm going to get it. See, the how is really what's throwing you off. The how is not your business. It's so many times. Prime example, I remember I had did a video. I think it was a short or was it a regular? I don't know. But this guy, he had sent a super chat for $200 to me. Right now, YouTube take a percentage. I think it was like 50%, 100. But stuff like that, I didn't know. I said I want my income to be a certain amount, but I didn't know how that was going to happen. Right? Like the how is not your business. You don't know how these things are going to come through. But if you constantly like, well, I don't see it, and I know I need to know the gist of it. I need to know how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen. You already demonstrating you don't have faith because the how is not your business. You're not supposed to be worried about the how. You just put it out into the ether and just keep on visualizing yourself with the thing. Every time you get a thought that is not in alignment with what you see, you go. My phone had died, and I knew I needed to get my charger, but I still just let it go. But I really wanted to let you guys know, I don't care where you are today. Don't get so caught up on where you are today. Don't give all your attention to where you are today. It's good knowing where you are, but it's even better to have a plan and a strategy on, this is where I desire to be. You may not even know how you're going to get there. Like, when I first started doing YouTube, I didn't even know that, like, the qualifications, right, for me to be monetized. Because when I first started doing it, it had nothing to do with monetization. It had everything to do with my passion, you know. When I had my spiritual awakening, I just was so geeked and so excited that you don't have to suffer if you don't choose to, you know. You can do something different. No matter what life is showing you, you can always, change your perception and think or look at things differently. And once I start understanding about the illusions, right, that it's not based upon how others feel about you, it's based. And once I start understanding it, my phone is on it. But once I start understanding it, that is not about what other people think, is about you. My whole mindset and focus changed. Now, I'm not gonna say it was in times where as though I started thinking like, well, what would they think about this, or what would they feel about this? But I still move. I still listen to my intuition majority of the time, but my intuition is telling me to do things. And that's what it was about. When I had my spiritual awakening, and I believe that we had many spiritual awakenings in this one here lifetime. But when I had my spiritual awakening, one of the things that I felt was, oh my goodness, I want people, especially the people who was the closest, right? I want them to understand that they can change their life. I was so excited to let people know that they don't have to stay where they are. And I was showing up happy, playful, when things like that. And some people, they just don't understand it and they don't get it. And that is okay, because perhaps it's not their time yet to get it. I had a homeboy. I remember he was talking to me. He was going to therapy and stuff like that. And I remember one day he had stopped by my house and he was like, he was talking about the subconscious mind. I didn't have a clue to what the heck he was talking about. He was saying about, when you drive and you know how to get home, you don't have to like actually think about it. I did not know what the heck he was talking about. At that time, I wasn't ready for this information. If I was ready for it, guess what? I would have had it. Okay. I had to go through some things in order for me to become the person that I am today. So I want you to understand this. Don't rush your process, okay? Embrace your process. Also understand that if you want your life to change and you desire to live in a condo, you desire to, drive a Ferrari. Listen, you know what I mean. If you desire to have a Bentley or whatever it is, you're going to have to go around those things. And if you're a person that's like, well, I'm so afraid to go there, the main thing why people don't go to the places that they desire to one day have is because of fear what other people gonna think of them. What would they think of me? Honey, those people don't even know you. Okay? They don't even know you. And I remember one time I got pulled over by a cop. And this is how indebted, like I believe, not indebted, but I believe in it so much. The cop said, "What was you doing over here?" And I was like, visualizing. I bring my children to neighborhoods and I let them know that they can have this too. I didn't give a damn if he was a cop. Okay? And this is what you have to see for yourself. You have to start being around things that you desire. So what if it scares you? So what if you don't know where the money is going to come from? So what? Do not allow that to stop you from imagining. Do not allow that to stop you from dreaming. Imagine it. So many people are so caught up on what would this person think of me that maybe if you go to their dealership or you go to their open house, maybe if you was to do those things, you will come up with ideas in order for you to actually have that thing. You never know how this here thing works. Let me tell you something. It's times on my journey, I did not know how things was going to work out, and they always worked out. So you have to have faith and you have to believe. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.